Hey everyone, this is my first ever video and I'm going to just do a little 8x8 canvas. Today I'm going to first, I gathered some different papers. Sometimes I don't really know what direction I'm going to go. It's mostly just look for some color inspiration in my scrap packs and then just kind of go from there. And I'll just start randomly gluing some paper down, and then once it dries I just kind of take a look at it and get some inspiration and go from there. So first I'm taking my Mod Podge, my handy satin finish. I try different things. Sometimes I use a soft matte gel medium from Liquitex or gesso, and then it's usually just whatever I have on hand. I try not to use the glossy to lay down the papers, just because it'll leave a finish that's hard to go back over, say if I want to do sprays or something. So I just start randomly tearing and laying down paper, and we're just going to see where it goes. And sometimes I like the words from old dictionaries. I got this giant old Webster's dictionary from Goodwill for a couple of dollars, and the paper's great to tear up. And sometimes I like the words that are just randomly appear. This one says matchmaker on it, so that's kind of fun. I may leave that word showing just a little bit because it's a fun word. Sometimes you want to be careful with the, look, I have cat hair everywhere. She gets on this is the only table she's allowed on to drink her milk away from the dogs, and so sometimes there's cat hair in my paintings. Sorry, I've tried to pick it out. It's actually, if you're sensitive to cats, I'll have to fumigate my paintings before you buy them. So here we go. That says beautiful. Sometimes I'll cover the words up, and sometimes I'll just leave them. And I don't always cover my canvas with collage. Sometimes I'll just paint strictly on the canvas. I'll just gesso it, and then other times I want that pop of color. So, and there's no rhyme or reason to this at all. Some people make a plan and lay out their pieces. I'm not very organized. You'll see. I'm kind of a messy, fly by the seat of your pants sometimes. Now, I will say, if I'm planning a picture that may have a portrait or a face, I might try to have a larger solid piece right here, just because I may not want the cracks going through the face. Sometimes it doesn't matter, and I'll have little lines of paper going through a face, and sometimes, you know, just depends on what I'm in the mood for. So, line this down. At the bottom, and I think that's done, and I'm gonna let it dry. Oops, it's popping up a little. Really wish I knew where, oh, here it is. Okay, so just an old gift card or something, debit card or whatever. Mostly gift cards. You don't want people getting your private information. There you go. Just kind of smooth down the edges, pop out any air bubbles, and I'll be back. Okay, so now this is completely dry, and I'm going to start layering paint, kind of just smearing, maybe do some sprays, and we'll just kind of see where it goes. I don't have a big plan. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Today is no plan. So I'm going to take a little bit of this buttermilk Americana. There we go. I don't feel like doing completely white today. Well, if I get it to come out, there we go. I'm just kind of squirt some. And I'm going to take my used gift card and just sort of smear it. I like to leave a little bit of some of the paper showing. I cover most of it. And the great thing about mixed media is you've got all these layers, so it's very interesting for people to look at. Sometimes it's hard to see. When you have a picture on, you know, posted online or whatever, people can't always see the layers, but in person can look and just see the pretty paper underneath, the words. Just, it makes it a lot more interesting than just sort of blah, single layers of paint. And while that's still wet, I'm actually, what color do I want to use? I'm actually thinking I might put a little bit of some orange. And here's just some bright orange Americana. I'm just going to dab. You like this technique? This is, you go to school a long time to learn these techniques. Let's see. Right now I'm going to take a little Spa Blue. It's one of my favorites. This one and the Whispering Turquoise by Americana I use a lot. This one's more, to me, kind of like a sky color. It's not quite as dark as the other. And then I'm going to take some stencils. I love these ones with like little alphabets and things. I kind of like letters hiding underneath. And I'm just going to start doing a little stenciling. You may not even see these in the finished product, but I know that they're there. Sometimes they'll peep through. Ooh, it just kind of turned out to be a blob, didn't it? You never know. I probably should have dabbed off a little more paint first. Just giving it some interest. And I'm thinking I'm going to just take, I have lots of these little old bottles of ink, and I'm just going to do some drippy stuff. I might just kind of squeeze. These probably need to be wet down with a little water. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, you see that? It's kind of cool. And you can tell my brush is totally not clean, but that's fine. I like the blended colors. I'm just going to let it roll. So I like how those look. Okay, I've let the little drippies dry for the most part. And if you're in a hurry, you can use a embossing heat gun or whatever, blow dryer, because I'm not very patient. So I hurry up my drying process a lot. And I've decided I'm just going to, so it'll probably spread some of this ink, but I'm just going to go back over with a little white because I'm going to, I think I'm going to do some flowers in here. and just want to blend in some of these colors a little more. And it's okay, your colors are probably going to bleed a little. It's all right. And there's no pattern to this. I'm just sort of cross-hatching my paint strokes just to give it some extra texture and interest. But I'm just going to try to tone this down just a little. Nothing is really permanent too much. And you see some of the blue is bleeding in with the white. It's totally okay. I like it. Okay, a little more muted palette to paint over top of that. And then I'm going to let this dry. Okay, so I've been sitting here thinking a little bit about what I want, and for some reason I have in mind a bowl of flowers with a bird. So I'm just starting to sketch in some ideas. Just sort of do some wings here. I love these pencils. Miss Stell Kirking told us about these in one of her classes. It's just these 9XXB, I believe it is, or maybe I'm looking at it upside down. But yeah, I think it's 9XXB. Just these really big black pencils. I use them for everything. The cool thing is they will sort of blend into your paint. So anyway, I like them. I use them a lot. And this is just going to be a funky looking, kind of abstract bowl. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of give it some shape. I want to be able to kind of see some of the stems of the flowers. So I'm just going to keep sketching here and see how it turns out. You want some of these to be in front, some behind. You want to give some interest to the painting so they're not all lined up like little soldiers. And it's just going to fade into the water of the bowl. I'm going to put more flowers here under the bird. Maybe a few leaves coming out. I kind of like it the way it is now with just the pencil marks. Okay, now I'm going to choose some colors. I still want to pick up some of these oranges, but I may put in some reds or pinks too. So, pinks, reds, because I've got some reds underneath here. Okay, so I've chosen some colors. It's a mixture of some Americana paints and some golden fluid acrylics. I love them all. The golden fluid acrylics are just yummy, gorgeous, delicious, and I wish I had a million colors and a million bottles, but I use both, and I use my Fancy Schmancy artist palette, also known as the paper plate, and I've put a squirt of golden acrylic glazing medium in the center because sometimes I like this when the paints, I live in a very dry climate in Colorado. Things dry out very quickly here. And so the paints start to dry very quickly. So I use the glazing to kind of thin out, and rather than using just water, because it'll keep the color and the intensity of the paints using the glazing medium as opposed to watering your paints down. So I'm gonna just start painting here and see where it goes. I'm really hard on brushes too. I buy these cheap crappy ones and half the time the heads pop off. I'm buying brushes all the time. So I'm gonna pick up a little glazing medium here. And I think I'm gonna start with a paler orange. I don't stay in the lines. I used to get in trouble in kindergarten for coloring outside the lines, and I think it scarred me for life. I didn't paint for many, many, many years because I didn't think I could, because I was messy. And when I discovered mixed media, my life was transformed. And while that's still wet on the petals, I'm going to pick up, I think I'm going to pick up a little of the darker orange and just sort of blend in. Because when you look in real life, you have shadows, light and dark. You don't want everything just to be one solid color. I mean, you can, it's up to you. Sometimes I do, but I really like the difference in using color, the different shades of the same color. Okay. And then while I'm in there, I'm still going to go back in and highlight with a little golden, the Nickel Azo Gold, just because it's a beautiful, kind of a transparent, will give some extra shadow to the petals. Okay. Then the next flower, I think I'm going to do some pink and let's see what happens. Pick up a little of the glazing medium. I want it to be a little transparent on this canvas because I do like the papers that we put underneath. Got a little much there, that's okay. I might just pick up a little of my white while that's still wet and sort of do some brush strokes. Kind of outward. Actually, I think I'm going to do the same, go back in here on the orange flower with a little white. Yeah, I like that. Since this flower is in the background, I'm going to start with the darker color, maybe the Nickel Azo Gold. Because it's still the same tones as this, but just a little darker. One of these days I'll do a lesson on how to choose your colors that complement each other, because I know when I teach classes a lot of people kind of have problems saying what color goes with what. Now I'm just going back in here with a little of the orange. Okay, if you ever hear my dogs barking, I just had to turn off the camera. They're not very well behaved. They bark. We have deer out here and they're barking all the time at the deer. They think that they're bigger than them. So just a little white. Okay. Then I'll go with another pink. I'm going to add a little bit of red to that pink one coming up. So I'm just a little drop of red on my, I guess it's Naphthol Red Light. So I'll do another little pink flower here under the bird. And then pick up some of the red. I don't know if it'll make much of a difference, but we'll see. Oh, there we go. And once again, maybe just a little white highlights, not too much in the petals. There we go. Now, we go back in here and do some leaves. Now I'm going to, not quite sure about the bird. I think I'll start him out in some turquoise very lightly and see what happens. Okay, yeah, I think he's cute. I'm gonna have to highlight him for sure so you can see him with all this blue. Pick up a different brush. I'm going back over with, I think, one of my favorite paint colors ever, which is Golden Fluid Acrylic, the green gold. It's shimmery and delicious. And I'm all about the shimmer. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of this nickel gold for the beak. Maybe start doing the eyes. I might even highlight. We'll definitely fix that eye. Okay, do the center of the flowers. Blend a little pink on my palette. Can't really see that. whenever you use a color in the painting, try to have it in more than one place. So for instance, I've got a little bit of yellow in there, so I'm just putting just dots of yellow so your eye is drawn to other points of the painting. So see, that actually looks pretty good. I'm going to do a little bit of yellow in the leaves too, I think. Okay. And go back in here and touch up this bird some more. I'm not loving it. As a little dab of black. We'll see what happens. There we go. This little foot. Whoopsie, my crappy brushes fall apart. Okay. Now I think for the bowl, I'm going to glaze it. So I might need a little more glazing because I still want these underneath to come through. So I'm going to just sort of glaze with some of the turquoise. Because I like how this looks like water already. And then you just get in there with your fingers. I'm pretty messy, but it's what makes it fun. I may actually put a little pink glazing just because we've got some pink flowers in there. We've got some orange, which could be reflections of the orange flowers. And I'm just thinking maybe just a touch of the pink might be interesting too. I don't even know if that shows up, but we'll try. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So this might freak some people out because it's really messy. Some people like to have very perfect lines. I'm not one of those. I admire people who paint straight. But I've always just enjoyed making a mess. Now I'm going to go back in faintly with some of my greens. And I'm going to just draw in some sort of watery stems from the flowers, just as if you could see them through the reflection. Now, pick up just a little bit of black and come back and start doing some more dimension on the flowers. Very lightly. Might also do some shadows. Hold on. I got this pretty watery, so just kind of some real watery black right here, so you can see the shadows of the flowers. You may or may not like that, so it's totally up to you. But to me, it kind of makes it look like you can actually see inside the petals a little better. And these are the little, I don't know botany terms very much. The little doodads that stick out from the center. That's too dark. Start putting a little bit of shadow kind of underneath the flowers here, so to give it some more dimension, and just feel free to use your fingers. The glazing medium helps because it doesn't dry right away. You have a couple seconds to blend with your fingers or whatever.